crafties, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti and I am back with another knitting tutorial. For today's tutorial we are going to be doing another variation of the rib stitch. It's super simple, and without further ado we're going to jump right in. Alright, first things first, crafties, I hold my yarn a little differently. I also wrap it a little differently apparently than a lot of people do. So if the way I use my yarn confuses you, feel free to find another tutorial. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start off with a slip knot. And I am going to cast on 15 stitches. And in this 15 stitches, I am including my selvage stitches. So I'm going to cast on. I'm not going to bore you guys with casting on. If you don't know how to cast on, I do have a beginner knitting tutorial back on my channel. Feel free to check it out. It's either in this playlist or I'll link it at the end. Right, now that I have my stitches cast on, what I'm going to do is kind of snip my tail so I don't start knitting with that instead, and just move it to the side. So now I'm going to work my selvage stitch, which if you don't know what a selvage stitch is, if this is like your very first go around with knitting, the selvage stitch is basically that little outside border stitch that you have in knitting. Alright? It doesn't count as part of the pattern. So you can work that in any way you'd like. I like to knit mine just because I find them to be simpler, but you can work it in any way you'd like. Get that on off of there. Okay, so now to begin the pattern, we are going to just do a series of knitting 3 and purling 2 all the way across this row. So inserting your needle from the back of the loop and bringing things forward. There's 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to bring our working yarn forward, and we're going to insert our needle in the front of the stitch and wrap around, and we're going to purl by bringing that loop to the back. Alright, and then our repetition begins again. We're going to knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to bring it forward, and we're going to purl 2. 1, 2. I'm bringing it back, and I'm going to purl my last 3, knit my last 3 stitches. 2 and 3. And then I'm going to work my selvage stitch, which I will knit. Alright, and that is the end of row 1. Let's move on to row 2. So for row 2, crafties, this is what you have. You have your first row of knit 3, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2. So the back side is a little different, and if it helps, you could either get a locking stitch marker, or you can find an unlocking, or well, not an unlocking, one that doesn't lock just when you slip in your knit stitches, so you can keep up with which side is which. So we're going to go ahead and slip that in there on this front side, because sometimes it can be a little tricky when you're first learning how to knit, like which side is the wrong side, which one is the right side, while you're working your stitches. Okay, so I'm going to work my selvage stitch. Which is a knit. Okay, and so the back side is a little different because the stitches that you just knitted look like purls, and the purled stitches look knitted. But don't overthink it. We're just going to start off purling 3 and then knitting 2. So in these last 3 stitches that you knitted, you're going to bring your yarn forward and you're just going to purl 3. So 1, 2, and then 3. You're going to bring your yarn to the back, and we're going to knit the next 2. We're going to bring the yarn forward, and we're going to purl the next 3. Knit 2, and we're going to purl the last 3. Alright, we're going to work that last selvage stitch. And that is row 2. So when we flip this over, you can kind of see the beginning of the ribbing. The stitches that are brought forward are the knit 3s on the right side, and when you purl the back, when you purl 3 on the back, it gives you this like stockinette pattern, and then it gives you like a knitted pattern in between these rows of stockinette. So I'm going to work up a few more rows so that can be better illustrated, and I'll meet you guys back when I have a swatch. Alright crafties, I have worked up several rows and I have a little swatch here. So as you can see, if you continue the pattern on the right side of the work, the bars where you knit 3 will come forward in this beautiful stockinette pattern, and the stitches in between, they look like garter stitch and they recede to the back. Now something that I do like about this pattern is, wait for it, it's reversible. So if you wanted to use the other side for your project, you could very well do that as well. I hopefully will have a project I'm working on right now completed, and I'll put it on Instagram, you know, or maybe eventually add it to the video, I don't know. So anyway, I hope today's tutorial was helpful. If so, go ahead, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below letting me know how I did. Go ahead, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on weekly content like this. Also, if you're a crocheter, I got those tutorials for you too. I post those every Sunday. And don't forget to check out my other social media. Until next time, happy making.